Hey everybody, what's happening? I am Tommy and you were on the lifeboat. Can you go me a 5x5 real quick? Jane Aldrich, good to see you. Kristen Melinda, how are you? Jane Aldrich, Lisa Ayers, Kay, Canadian, good to see you. If I could get a 5x5 so that I know that you can hear me and see me, because we live in a developing country and the weekends tend to get rowdy in Salinas, Ecuador, and the internet signal gets a little bit different. Yeah, Ashley G, good to see you. Thank you. The next step is going to be we're probably going to have to step up to the plate and get Starlink. Taylor Miller, ahoy, good to see you. Chickacheri Cola, there you are. Sidetrack searching for smoke. What's happening? Yeah, the next step, folks, is that we're just going to have to, we didn't want to do it. We really didn't. It's a very, very expensive thing down here. Air Supply, good to see you. It's over $500 in equipment alone. Hey, Just Joan. So just getting the equipment necessary to do the Starlink thing, and then there's the monthly and all that. It's up. Just Joan, good to see you. Yukon Craig Nalius, what's happening? Just be chilling. Susie Hughes, hey. Oh, what a cool thing to say. I appreciate that. And let me put that up so that people don't just see me having a one-sided conversation. What a nice thing to say. I appreciate you saying that. See, that makes way more sense for the people that see this after the fact. And I'm going to keep it real, folks. I'm not going to do the show that I had intended to do because we're not going to get enough internet signal to get through it. Ashley G, good to see you. So what I'm going to do is a shameless plug for this channel, because currently I am doing something in the morning that, I don't know, it borders on magic. And I'm not tooting my horn. I'm talking about the people that are in the chat. There's something very wild about a group of people that want to make their lives better. Because I'll tell you what, we don't live in that world. It may come as a shock to you, but we do not live in that world. And we end up talking about issues that are near and dear to a lot of people's heart. And the number of people that have reached out to say, the group of people in your morning chats are changing my life. It touches me. Honest to God, it literally touches my soul. And again, I promise you, this isn't a, hey, how cool is Tommy Scoville's show? But the people that are assembling in the morning are some of the greatest people that I've had since I opened the channel. It's very, very different. I've been trying to journal, but I'm struggling to write as me. Instead, I write novels, and my characters are saying all of the things I had wanted to as my younger self. It's been cathartic so far. It's a kind of journaling. I would have been doing a show on it coming up. It is absolutely a kind of journaling. One of the things that we talk about in the morning all the time. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Miss All Smokes. One of the things that we talk about in the morning is overcoming staring at a blank page. One of the things that people do, it is wildly cathartic to go back and live through certain things. You know, how many times do you walk away and say, that's what I should have said? Like in that moment, that's what I should have said. A lot of times going back and saying it and writing it out in dialogue, right, and doing dialogue, it really can be very, very cathartic. Lumen, good to see you. Lisa Trimble, how are you? I'm glad you're here. It gives you an opportunity to look. My theory on journaling is a pretty simple one. The idea is that you're trying to make your life better, plain and simple. It's not recording things for a later date or for posterity or any of that garbage. You know, this isn't a diary. This is an exploration of who you are. The question I get asked most often is, you know, how do you go from a bank robber to doing what you do? That people ask that crap all the time. And I found out who I was in a journal. I didn't know why I did dope. I didn't know why I did the things that I did in my life. It's never been something that made any sense to me. And when you can't figure things out, you come up with excuses, especially if it's something that people ask you constantly. So you end up in prison and you're going to go from one therapist to another after another. And the question that they're going to ask you every single time is, why did you do this? It makes sense for a lot of people. I'm not being disrespectful, but when you meet people in prison, Wendy says, don't forget to like and subscribe. And it's really good advice, I promise. No, this is how cool it is for you to take your time to do this. No, you know what, Susie Q? I'm getting more out of this than anybody else is, I promise you. But sitting in front of a therapist who says, tell me about your childhood. And you go, well, my mother and father stayed together until, you know, my father passed. I had a mother and a father. We ate every single meal together. That was a thing in my family. If I missed a meal, it was because I was at a sports practice. We were a family. We went to church every single Sunday. My father taught me how to ski, and I became a skier that competed professionally. We went skiing as a family. I remember the day that my dad said to me, I said, let's go. We're loading up the car. My dad said, I'm not going skiing with you. And I said, why not? And he said, because I think I've reached a point where I'm slowing you down. And I said, what? And he said, you're going to have a lot more fun if I'm not there. Trust me. And I was heartbroken. It didn't make sense to me. Looking back on it now, I don't know that I would have been able to say that to Spanx. I think I would have wanted to keep going with him. But my dad bailed out of a sport that he loved because he realized that I was surpassing where he was at as a skier. And I was doing this at a very young age. And he wanted me to go find people who were better and spend time with them. And I ended up training with the US ski team, right? Because they were training at the mountain I was at. So it made sense to my dad to bail. But I had a great family. And when you're in prison, the vast majority of people you meet don't know their father. So it makes a lot of sense why they're in prison. They didn't have a role model of any kind. Q's a great example, right? There was no dad there. He sought out family members who were gang members, and that was his male role models. I didn't have those excuses, so I had to come up with them in my head that made sense. And I would say to therapists, I got high, I loved the way it felt, I continued to do it, and the next thing you know, I was addicted. And that was my story, and I believed it. And then a journal told me exactly why I started doing dope. And once you understand the reasons that you make the mistakes that you make, not making them again gets a hell of a lot easier, right? Tommy, you saved my life over a year ago. I'll never forget what kindness lives in your heart. Oh, what a cool thing to say. I appreciate that. I think you saved your life, but I will absolutely, I won't take a bow, but I will absolutely take the compliment. I appreciate that. You know what? And people say, somebody wrote and said, you're really a humble person. I had a guy who was a guru, right? I really did. Like the guy that worked with me was a guru. He was one of the smartest men I've ever met. And the way he taught was different than anybody else. You know, he taught sometimes everything at once. And sometimes he taught in segments so that he would let me screw up the process so that I could learn. And then when I would tell him I was screwing up the process, he'd go, oh, try this. And it would completely fix everything. The guy was a genius. He was a genius. He was a guru. He is a genius. He is a guru. And I'm not. But I would say to him, man, you saved my life. He'd go, no, I didn't. Good God, no, I didn't. I am a professional race coach and racer too. Oh, well, how about that? I didn't crash gates. I was a freestyle skier, but boy, I sure hung out with a lot of you, Susie. Pooh Bear, good to see you. B-Lady, what's happening? Well, I'm glad that you're here. I really am. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're that life's good. That's an important thing, man. It really is. And a racer in New England and Vail. Well, I'll be damned. I wonder if I know your dad. You should shoot me an email because I may know who your dad is. And Susie Q's. You know the problem with that is that there's literally 1 million skiers with the first name Susie, right? Susie Chapstick was one of the first really big female skiers in the world. I know so many Susies that skied. After Susie Chapstick, a lot of skiers named their daughter Susie. I know 1 million of them. Great ski name. Susie it's a great ski name. A lot of skiers named Susie. It's funny how when people do well, that you end up with a lot of people that, Bodie is a name you don't hear. You're not going to meet too many people in your life named Bodie. But after Bodie Miller started to crash gates and do well, a lot of skiers named their kid Bodie. There's a lot of youngsters who they're not young anymore because I'm old, but I had a lot of friends that named their kids Bodie. It amazes me how skiers can go downhill, etc. I took ski lessons one winter. I don't think I would have been able to learn skiing if I tried it at a later age. I don't remember learning how to ski. That's a real bonus. I have no memory whatsoever of learning how to ski. My dad, they didn't make kids skis. Honest to God, when I was a kid, they hadn't caught on to the fact that there was a whole market you could sell to kids. So my dad would take skis and a hacksaw and cut them down and mount bindings on them for us, which is just the dumbest thing in the world in hindsight, because you need camber in a ski, right? It has to, and if you cut half of it off, but when they started to make kid skis, my brother and I would break them like popcorn. We would go through them way too fast, and that gets the attention of the people that you keep sending them back to. And the next thing you know, ski companies were talking to us, and just a Ronja. How about absurdly obscured? I got that one. Glad that you're here. But I really want to pump what we're doing in the morning. If you've never caught the morning show, it's one thing to go back and watch it now, which is really a cool thing, and to read what's going on in the chat. It'll give you an idea of what's up. But if you're there in the morning, there are epiphanies that happen there. There are people that are discovering things, and it's because of what other people are saying. Never got off the bunny hill, huh? Your dad races on wooden skis. Well, there you go. Still might not be somebody that I hadn't heard of. I started on wooden skis with bear trap bindings, like lace up ski boots. I'm not as young as I look. I started a really long time ago. But yeah, what a great sport. I miss it. I absolutely miss it. But it's like riding a bike. I'll tell you a quick story. I was skiing, and at this point, I was doing like the Red Bull Big Air circuit, and I was doing some serious skiing. And Johnny Scoville came out to visit me, and I said, "Hey man, let's go up to the mountain." He said, "And do what?" I said, "Ski. I'll put you on ultra modern equipment. Like, you're not going to get rentals. I'll go get you some of the sickest equipment in the world." And as we were heading up the mountain, if you've ever been to Salt Lake, it's a fascinating place, especially for skiers, because you have two canyons in Salt Lake that are basically side by side. And one is what's called a box canyon, which means there's no way out of it. Is this what you took in helicopter? Yes. So there's a box canyon, and then the other one, that's Little Cottonwood Canyon. The other one is Big Cottonwood Canyon, and you can actually get on Guardsman's Pass and go all the way over to Park City. But as you start to drive up the hill, you'll hit the snow line. And I could say to my brother, when we go around the next corner, it's either going to be snowing or not going to be snowing. But it wouldn't be snowing at my house. And if you look up on the mountain and it looks a little clouded in, I could tell you exactly where the snow would start. Within 100 yards, there was the snow line. And we went around the corner, and there was the snow line. And I said to him, "Hey, we're going to do this." And I went and got the equipment, and he started to walk toward the lift. And I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I thought we're going skiing." And I said, "No, we're going skiing." But I used to set my alarm a year ago to your morning streams, got me up, and maybe make my bed. Well, then definitely your life changed, because when you start making your bed every day, unbelievable things happen. My brother and I were doing a stream earlier, and I'll get back to the skiing. I promise my brain is a lot sharper than it used to be. But my brother and I were doing a stream, and we were talking about the last month here. And one of the biggest shockers of the move is that we get more done in a day living here than we used to get done in 5 days in living in the United States. Hey, Debbie Zito, we really do get a lot done. It's a very, very different life. But back to the skiing. He said, "I thought we were going skiing." I said, "We're not going to need lifts." So he hadn't been around in a really long time. He hadn't done any skiing. It had probably been, I don't know, man, 20 years. Might have been longer than that. Johnny also stopped skiing when I started to compete and get really serious about it. Everybody just sort of left me, and which probably wasn't great. You know, I don't know. Hindsights are always different. Hey, Reese, good to see you. Daniel, Skeet. Sorry, can't help myself. You got it. You're good. Ms. Rose, how are you? My life changed when I started journaling. Thanks to your help, I learned how to journal in my own way. It'll always work. I'm telling you, it's not. I don't journal the way other people do, but the concepts are always the same. So I put Johnny Scoville on a helicopter, and I took him to Mount Superior. If I have anybody from Utah here, if not, people will see this. I took him to do Superior, and Superior is the mountain. If you want to look this up and Google it, don't leave. But when you're done, you can go over and Google Mount Superior. It is the exact opposite it's across the street from Snowbird Mountain Resort. And the reason that you got to go in a helicopter is because it's too damn steep to put a ski lift on. So Johnny, who had not been skiing in a really long time, and I said to him, I'm like, "Dude, this is like riding a bike." Now, the one thing I will say is I was using training wheels. Everybody there, if you ski all of the time and you live in a place like that, you don't have one pair of skis. When the powder is 4 feet deep, you don't use regular skis, you use powder skis, and they're wider. They're considerably wider. It's also that damn steep. And it was one of those moments, because as the helicopter starts coming into the top, they don't land. You understand? It's not going to land. So you kind of have to hop out of the helicopter, get your skis out of a tube that's on the side and basically jump out of it. And Johnny was like, he leans over and he goes, "When are they going to land this thing?" I go, we don't land. We have to hop out of this. And he kept giving me looks like he wanted me dead. And then as we're going up, he goes, "Dude, that's too steep. I can't do this." Wharton Thistle, man, I think about you all the time. I'm glad you're here. Wharton, I pray for you every day. I hope things are good, man. I really do. I hope you're adjusting. I have faith that you are, but I'm glad that you were here. Que pasa, amigo? Que pasa, way? It's what the locals, right? The locals with the slang. But as we got there, as we're going up, he goes, "That's too steep, dude. That's too steep." And I go, "You don't have to come down the head wall. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to come down the steep part." And he's like, "There's a part that's not steep." I said, "Absolutely, man. Don't be an idiot. Like, I'm going to throw you on skis after 20 years and take you to something like that." There's no other way down, by the way. There's no other way. But he wouldn't have got on the helicopter if I had said anything else. And again, it was kind of like yoga, though. I kind of assumed he would suck. And it was like he never stopped. Honestly, it was like he had never taken a day off. I shouldn't say that. There was terror in his face that I had never seen before when he skied, but it only lasted about 4 minutes. Like, after he had made the first 5 or 6 really big GS turns, he sort of stopped and just looked at me like a kid. He had this huge grin on his face. And then we got to the bottom, and the first question was, there wasn't anything angry. There's nothing. He goes, "Hey, how many times are they going to take us up?" I was like, "See that? That's how it works. You get on a helicopter once." And helicopter skiing is just the most spoiled skiing in the world because no one else gets to steal your snow, right? But I knew a guy at the time that ran the helicopter ski place. It would have been so much money. It's astounding how much that cost. But we had a hell of a day. And then, I don't know if have you ever told all these stories?
No, I haven't.
So the next day I said, "We're going to go skiing again." He's like, "Sweet. Where are we taking the helicopter?" I'm like, "No, bro, that's not something I can pull off all of the time." So we instead I took him to Snowbird, but it was funny because I tried to take him to every place that would terrify you if you were there, right? It really would terrify you. So I took him to a place where you can make about, I don't know, a quarter of a mile of turns, and then you're going to have to hop off something that's about 50 feet high, right? There's a cliff and there's no way around it. And what was funny is when we got there, I said, "Listen, you're going to jump off of this cliff in front of us." I go, "It's no big deal. It's about a 50-foot drop. It's not," and he went, 50 feet. And I was like, "Yeah, but you're jumping on a really steep landing and the powder's going to be over your head." I said, "You got nothing to worry about." And he goes, 50 feet. He said it like 6 times. And I go, "Yeah, listen to me. As long as you don't go off the exact same place I do, like move 4 feet over." And he's like, "What if it's a bigger drop there?" I said, "It's not. It's 50 feet no matter where you go," which wasn't entirely true. But Tommy, day by day, I'm logging the bog, pulling myself through this. All prayers are felt. I'll make it. Thank you all. Wharton is now living without his soulmate, if you guys are not familiar with that. So if we get some thoughts and prayers for Wharton Fissel, because it's not something I can imagine. But I do know that you're an amazing man, Wharton. I got tons of faith in you, but thoughts and prayers are with you every day. I mean that every day. Yes, used to hate it when someone stole your snow. And usually it was women. Different kind of snow, Tommy Bird, different kind of snow. But yeah, that's the right channel for that kind of snow. Makes sense. But he said to me, "I'm just going to hike back up." And he was serious. And I went, "The hell you are, man?" He's like, "No, man, I'm just going to hike back up." I was like, "I don't think you understand this." I said, "I work here, bro. You're not hiking back up. I will be, you look way too much like me to be hiking back up." But to his credit, he flung himself off that cliff. He's nothing if not game. You've seen him do yoga. If you haven't gone over to see the yoga that my brother's doing with me, it pisses me off, if you want to know the truth. I didn't want Johnny to progress with yoga as fast as he's doing it. It kind of frustrates me, truthfully. Pooh Bear says, "I understand your pain." I'm sorry to hear that, Pooh Bear. But you know something? This is something else that we talk about a lot. Like, this is the kind of stuff that comes up on morning shows. You don't get over the loss of somebody. You don't. Thank God you don't. What kind of human being would we be if we could get over that? But you learn to live with it. It's like a lot of things that happen to us throughout life where it's just awful. And you're not going to overcome, you're not going to do any of those things. You just learn to live with the worst things that have happened to you. And journaling does an amazing amount of good. Todd, I want to tell you something, since we're having a laid back show. Todd, your comments on the stuff that I've been doing on Epstein are incredible. I will race. My son is ranked 10 in New England slalom, GS, and Super G. Wow. We have at least 5 pairs apiece, and I have to tune his daily for every race. Even has slip skis so they don't touch. You know something? This is horrible, but I'll tell you this story because it's also kind of funny. My dad was the heaviest sleeper on planet Earth. Nobody slept like my father. And when my dad would wake up, he wasn't really all there for probably the first 10 minutes. And I remember when Johnny Scoville, this is the Love Boat, bro. This isn't your channel. When Johnny came home from college, we were in my room smoking weed through a bong. And it was mid-July. And my dad got up to go to the bathroom and opened my door. Like he doesn't come into my room, never came into my room. And he opened the door to my room and he walked in, and the top 2 feet of the room are covered in smoke. And I thought, oh my God, we're busted. And my dad went, what the hell are you doing? I said, P-Texing my skis, middle of July. But I spent so much time melting wax. So you get these sticks of wax called P-Tex. You light the end of it, and it goes zip, zip, and you fill the holes. School wasn't in session, but I was living he was living in up on the university. But my dad went, yeah, well, don't do that in your room, and turned around and walked out. And we just waited for him to come back in. Like he's gonna go, what the hell? Well, why would you be P-Texing skis in July? But nope, walked right out, went right back to sleep. I followed conspiracy theories, turned out fact, since 2001, but big time after 9/11. Do you know what got me onto the tinfoil hat stuff? And I don't say that disrespectfully because I'm a tinfoil hat guy. I believe that most conspiracy theories will turn out to be fact in our lifetimes. Just how it's worked for me so far. I have no reason to believe that will change. But what happened to me was I was in prison, and a guy came up to me and said, have you used all of your FOIA requests this year? And I said, what the hell is FOIA? And he said, the Freedom of Information Act. I said, no. In prison, you're allowed X number of FOIA requests that you can do annually, and they will bring you the stuff. And he goes, can I use yours then? You just fill it out for me? I said, sure. And he got stuff on Roswell, and he had me fill out all the forms. And we were on a lockdown when the stuff came, and they delivered it to my cell, and it was just a gazillion pages. And I started reading it. And I started reading about Roswell and a lot of the other stuff that had been declassified. And I was like, oh my God, they lie about everything. They lie to us about everything. And so much, it's frustrating. If you've ever done a FOIA, there's so much that's still redacted. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they're releasing stuff, but so much of it is still black. Me and my older distant brother have mended our strained relationship. Wow, how cool is that? People, once again, the kind of stuff that we do in the morning, this is the kind of things that we talk about. It's the one that we lose that gain more than we can imagine. Yeah. Can we learn to live with the prolonged suffering? If so, we know how to appreciate the paradise that is eternity, hopefully. I love that, Tommy Bird. I absolutely love that. And I take amazing peace. Everybody believes different things, but I take amazing peace in the fact that I will see my dad again. And I do believe that. And it's one of those things that absolutely has knocked the edges considerably off the fact that I lost him. Sensational Cinema, good to see you. Glad that you're here. I did my first FOIA request to the Michigan DOC this week. Don't understand the prison reports they sent me back, though. Barbara, wait. Every prison Department of Corrections is different, and I'm not familiar with Michigan's DOC, except that the only FOIA request I've ever done to a prison was actually to Michigan's. But it is very confusing stuff. I was doing one of the Diddy things I was doing. There was a guy who's in prison in Michigan who has accused Diddy of some really crazy stuff. And it really looked like what he was saying was probably true. I FOIA'd some information there on that. I have not done a show on it because I sort of backed away from Diddy content. And if anyone's wondering why I backed away from Diddy content, it's because the amount of misinformation about Diddy and his case that came from the big red button is hideous. It's hideous. Honest to God, it is. Now, a lot of we wanted so badly to believe everything that was said, and I'm guilty of it more than anyone else. I'll take all of the heat for that. The lawsuits, so many of those lawsuits are so unbelievably BS that it's an embarrassment that I ever talked about them. And I don't like the guy, but just because you hate somebody doesn't mean that the things they say about them are real. It's a lesson I had to learn from both sides of the equation, and it sucks. Absolutely love this morning. My father would also. Daniel, it was a great morning. I'm telling you, that crew of people is just incredible. Quantum entanglement is real. Spooky connectivity at distance. Our energy will always be connected. There's something to that. There's absolutely something to that. You're burning. If that's a doob, I'm not mad at you, man. You do what you do. This is not I've never been an anti-drug channel. That may shock people, but I am not an anti-drug channel. My faith allows me to believe that I'll see my husband again and my parents. I love that. I love that. I really do. Yeah, I'm not an anti-drug channel. This is an anti-addiction channel. It's a live your best life channel. And I had to learn that. I really did. I had to learn that. I do know who you are now. Be chilling. Just be chilling. I'm sorry. Just be chilling. And I'm glad you're here. It's fantastic to see you again. It's yeah, that comment did it. Yeah, what, you know what did it for me was, how am I going to look at a guy that is smoking $400 worth of crack a day, right, and breaking the law to get it, who comes on the channel and says, well, I'm not really sober because I smoke a joint a day. You beat that much crack, I don't care what you did to beat it. I'm sorry. You know, and the people that want to give somebody crap for trading one drug for another probably didn't get clean themselves. Or if they did, they have become one of those people that can't stay in their own lane. And it's a disease among people who get sober. Honest to God, it is. They become militant about, you know, if you know, the number of people out there, there are shows that just talk about how much of a cop-out it is if you're doing Sublocade, the shots to prevent you from using, or you're taking Suboxone, or you're doing methadone. With 300 people dying a day, that's a great trade. If you can get somebody off of a drug that is killing 300 people a day and onto Suboxone, don't be an asshat. If you're somebody that doesn't believe in the in medical assisted treatment, keep it to yourself. Because there are people today who overdosed and died who had a shot at getting onto Suboxone but didn't, because their family said you're just trading one drug for another. So instead, they tried as hard as they could, right? And they weren't capable. And if you're not capable, then harm reduction is fantastic. Gives you an opportunity to live your life. And unfortunately, there are people that just can't stay in their own lane. You know, they just can't. And I had to learn this. I really did. There was a time in my life where I believed that if you were doing anything, you weren't sober. Sober, first of all, sober is a bullshit expression in the first place. I don't know what sober means. I really don't. What I believe is that recovery, right, from drugs that are killing you, that's the goal, is recovery. And that takes a different shape for every person. I've seen as many forms of recovery now as I've seen people getting sober. And if you're a person that goes to 12-step programs and it works for you and you go 3 times a week, fantastic. But if you're a person that system doesn't work for you, then you got to find something that does. And I'm never going to tell somebody that got off a crack by smoking a joint a day that they're a loser, you know, or that they didn't beat this. They should be waving a flag every day and screaming, woohoo, I did it. I'm certainly not going to take that away from anybody. And there are drugs out there that, you know, I'll tell you this, though. If that person traded smoking crack for drinking a 5th of bourbon a day, that's not a good trade. It really isn't. As far as I'm concerned, it's a level trade. You've picked another chemical that's going to kill you. Say what you will about weed. It doesn't kill you. How are my migraines? Non-existent. They're non-existent. I'm starting to believe that a lot of the problems that I had in life, a little open and honest, here we go. When living in the US, I had to use enemas in order to go to the bathroom 5-6 times a month. On bad months, it might be 3 times that. It was just a reality of who I was. And it was something that I had just sort of come to accept. It does not happen here. I'm the most regular person on planet Earth. And I can't tell you what a change in life that is. But I've come to believe stress has got a lot to do with it, Tommy Bird, to be sure. But a lot of it, too, is just the kind of things that I was eating. Heard a JJ Cale song called Someday This Morning. Wow, I sure felt it. JJ Cale's amazing. Amazing. Yeah, I love JJ Cale. Truthfully. Yeah, look, I feel worse for people who come to me and say, I'm trying to quit drinking, than I do almost anybody. You know what I mean? If I went into 7-Eleven and they were selling heroin over the counter, I'd have a really difficult time in my life no matter what. I would stop shopping. You know, it would be a very hard thing for me. Fortunately, my substance of choice is not something that the world accepts and sells at 7-Eleven. Alcohol is a drug, and it's a drug that does more damage than any other drug on earth. I promise you. It's insidious. It's insidious because we've come to be a world that, oh, we're celebrating? What kind of booze are we getting? You know, it's a Christmas party. What kind of booze are we going to have? It's so difficult for people because it becomes a social, people say a social lubricant. And also, there are people that don't use it as a social lubricant. They just go there and they drink. but it's part of life. Well, for 3% of the population, right? 3% of the population who drink, it's just going to end up killing you. It's just going to end up taking you off of the planet. Oh, DOA, you asshole. Will somebody just remove that person from my chat? Yeah, they just, yeah, you're incredible. You're a piece of work. But there are those people, man, and they're always gonna be around. They're always gonna be around. Yeah, the migraines are non-existent. When you start eating real food, when you stop putting poisons into your body, there's really amazing things that happen. Alcohol ruined a friendship of mine. She's an alcoholic and won't try to change. I'm sorry, man. Dragged her to a 12-step meeting and it just turned out bad. You know, if it's a woman, 12-step programs are tough. They really are. They're tough because it's inevitable that you're going to get hit on, right? You're going to get hit on. It's a disease of that kind of program. It really is. 12-step programs. Oh, I have a thing in the corner that looks like a tachometer. You know what a tach is, right? That's the thing on the car that doesn't tell you how fast you're going, but how many revolutions per minute. And it tells you the internet speed. And our upload speed has been at 85 since I started this, which is smoking. It's now at 22. So if I freeze up, I'm going to freeze up. Now I'm at 21. See, it makes no sense to me how it just drops. So stick with me, people, because you know what? No, this is dropping like a stone. And what happens is, once it goes off, I can't even end the stream. I met my first husband at AA and NA as a teenager. They go after it constantly. It's ugly. Really, I feel for women, AA and NA is a very different machine than it is for men. You know, you're going to get hit on. I've never met a woman that went to a AA or an NA program where guys weren't going there and trying to pick up on women. And that's really what you need, right? You know what, Susie Hughes? It's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. It really is. I'm at a 4 over here. Wow. It's a good thing you're just downloading and not uploading. You know what's frustrating is, can you die detoxing at home? You damn right you can. Absolutely. I'm so glad this question got in before this went bad. I'm so glad that this got in before this went bad. Can you die detoxing at home? If you are detoxing from alcohol, if you're detoxing from benzodiazepines, you got a damn good chance of detoxing, of dying at home from detoxing. You talk to a doctor before you quit anything. I mean, anything. You know, we live in a country, you live in a country where it should not be a problem to talk to a doctor before you quit. Always talk to a doctor before you quit, because we've evolved. There are substances that they can give you that are going to make the process a hell of a lot easier, right? I mean, a lot easier. I went to an AA meeting and said, "This sounds like a snivel fest." An old guy replied, "That's because it is." And then we all laughed. Yeah. Yep, exactly. See, and this is a professional saying this. Please consult a doctor before making any changes to your medications, quitting alcohol or benzos. That would be Valium, Xanax, Ativan, or lorazepam, diazepam, and what is Xanax called? I can't remember. That doesn't happen to me very often these days. Alprazolam. That's the brain. Any of these substances that you quit cold turkey, and you will have seizures, and the seizures can kill you. You can quit heroin cold turkey. I had the biggest habit you've ever seen in your life, and you can quit it cold turkey. You're going to feel like you're going to die. You're going to wish you're going to die, but there's no chance in hell you're going to. I mean, that's not. Now, I can't speak to fentanyl. I can't. I have heard professionals tell me that people are dying from kicking fentanyl. I heard a medical professional tell me that. Clonazepam, right, or Klonopin, as Monk says, the name brand would be Klonopin, the chemical name would be clonazepam. That's about the strongest of the benzos that they still allow on the streets in North America. In some other countries, you can still get flunitrazepam or Rohypnol, which is a much stronger benzo, probably the strongest that has ever been made. It's about the equivalent of 120 milligrams of Valium per pill. Wrap your dome around that. Or 12 little blue boys. My AA meeting was full of drug dealing. Yeah, I've told this story a million times. You guys are bored of hearing it. But twice in my life, I was forced to go into programs while I was trying to get sober. I was quartered to go into them. In one, I had almost a year of sobriety, and I don't remember how much I had in the other, but it was a good chunk of sobriety. And I got high in the parking lot. At both of those relapses happened in the parking lot of an NA meeting. It was tough. It really was. It was tough. They harden your arteries. They do a lot of bad stuff. Your mother is on lorazepam. That's Ativan. And on the scale of it, it's just, I mean, here's the thing about Ativan. Here's the thing about Xanax. People go, how strong is it? They will write you a prescription for 1/4 milligram of Xanax a day. You can get prescriptions for 1 milligram of Ativan. If they give you 5 times that, then lorazepam is an ass kicker. And if you're getting bars of Xanax, then you're getting milligrams, 1 milligram, 2 milligrams, 3 milligrams. That's a lot different than 1/4 milligram. These drugs are fantastic for what they're prescribed for. If you're somebody that suffers with anxiety so bad that you can't leave your house, or certain social situations absolutely kill you, this is a difficult thing. You know, it really is. It's a difficult thing. And those drugs are a miracle. They replaced a class of drugs, the barbiturates, things like Quaaludes, because so many people, hey, V-bombs, good to see you, New York in the house. They replaced barbiturates because barbiturates were killing people left and right, and less people overdose on benzodiazepines than ever did on barbiturates. Barbiturates were dangerous. It's really easy to, the respiratory depressant agent in that is way, way more gnarly. And that's why the drugs like Seconal and Tuinal and Quaaludes, like all of them are off the market. I think phenobarbital is probably one of the few that they still write prescriptions for. You can get a prescription for Seconal, but nobody does. There's no doctors writing those prescriptions anymore. It's very odd to see that. AA kept my mom sober for over 25 years. It taught me more than you could ever learn. Now it was an absolute positive. It was only an absolute positive thing. AA has saved more people's lives. And the 2 guys that started AA are the only reason we're talking here tonight. Honestly, because before them, addiction was something even in the physician's desk reference that said, keep those addicts away from guns and motor vehicles because they're going to end up killing themselves, right? So just make them comfortable and live with it because this is not something that can be treated. Physician's desk reference, no joke. And then 2 guys said, I'll keep you from drinking tomorrow. You keep me from drinking tomorrow. And here we are today. I say it all the time. I'm not bad mouthing the concept. We stand on the backs of giants in the community. Anybody that is sober owes it to the people that started AA and NA. What happened to the Scoville Brothers channel? It exploded because of this internet connection on the weekends. We need the link. We need to get Elon Musk's link here. Doctor had me on Xanax and modafinil. M-modafinil is a type of speed, right? And there's usually an M before the word modafinil, right? So it's M-modafinil. And the reason is it works on a different receptor than all of the other speeds do. And it's normally not given to somebody in the same way that they would give you, say, Ritalin or any of those, Dexedrine, what am I missing? Adderall. Dizoxin, all of the drugs that they give, the speed drugs that they give to help people focus. Modafinil is normally given to people as what they give it for what they call third shift disorder. You know, there are people that work third shift their entire lives, and then during the day they drag ass like they just can't get out of their own way. And M-modafinil works on a different receptor than all of the other speed. It's much less intense, but it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. It does happen way more often than you would think, though. You know, there are people who have bad anxiety disorder and they have ADHD. Your options are pretty limited with what you can do with those people, right? That really kind of becomes a problem. So that's, yeah, now I'm down to 20. People, this is going to die and I don't want to be able to not kill it. Come by the Love Boat tomorrow morning. I go live at basically about 12 hours from now, right? No, that's not right. I go at 5:30 a.m. That's Pacific time, right? Off for 12 years. Daniel, well played. Yeah, fantastic. That's a long time. That's success. Winning, as our boy used to say, winning. I closed my eyes and cured myself. What else did he say? Tiger blood. All right, people, I'm going to get off this before it kills the feed and I end up trapped. I'm sorry. I really was hoping that I could stretch this thing out, but it's dropped so bad. What time is it here now? 9:45 p.m. But it won't stay that way. They don't play daylight savings down here, so it's a little bit different. But it's 9:45 p.m. All right? People, between now and the next time that I see you, do me a favor and put a little love in your heart. Unless you're that fat douchebag that was in here earlier. He can do whatever he wants with his heart. We'll see you on the next one, peeps. I am Tommy. Spread a little love. Good night.